Hi there, my name's Dale Walker and I'm Deputy Editor for IT Pro. And today we're here to talk about what the business impact has been of GDPR over the last year. Today I'm joined by Jane McCallion, Features Editor, and Kumar's Fifi Sabet, Staff Writer. Last year, the EU's General Data Protection Regulations came into force, designed to harmonise data transfers across the European Union and bring with it tougher regulations about the way businesses can use customer data. While improving the protections for data subjects is generally considered a good thing, the restrictions on what businesses can and can't do with data is generally being not welcomed as warmly. So with that in mind, we're here to answer the question, how has GDPR impacted businesses since that time? And has it made life easier or harder as a result? Jane, if I start with you, how do you think GDPR has impacted businesses?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Like you say, the point of GDPR, it's a very European legislation. GDPR is all about protection of consumers, which is something that the EU is very hot on, always has been, versus the US, which is far more about the interests of companies. I think that in terms of consumer trust, it has increased it a little bit, and the fact is that if I want to turn around and say to companies, no, actually, I want to know what data you have on me, I want you to get rid of that and take it back. It's really empowering. For businesses, if you are well organised with GDPR in mind, that's actually going to be fine. It's going to be okay. You know, there was a long run up to this. So I think most of them will actually not have a huge problem. If you didn't do your preparedness well enough, or things are a little bit sketchy, data is all over the place, then you're going to have a bad time. So it depends on the company, it really does.
And Kumar, what's your take on this?
Well, in the run-up, there was a lot of commotion over what businesses might need to spend, what businesses might need to do to prepare, the structures they might need to put in place. So it's very much a case that every business, small and large, has had to go through a process. But I would see it as, from where I'm sitting, almost a short-term hit for a long-term gain, because if you factor things like the cost of not complying as well, moving forwards, then businesses that might be not quite there yet are probably taking a hit from, like, let's say, a brand awareness perspective. I think it's very much the case that GDPR has brought in a few inadvertent benefits as well. I think some research commissioned in March this year showed that not only does it mean you're slightly less likely to suffer a breach, but that the breach itself will probably cost a bit less to handle. There are a few other benefits that businesses have reported. For example, they might seem more attractive to investors. And on top of that, it could simplify sales processes if a lot of privacy concerns are already dealt with by the nature of GDPR being there in the first place.
So now that the UK has voted to leave the European Union, do you think that life is going to get any easier or any harder as a result of that?
I don't know that there's going to be a huge amount of change, really. We voted to leave the European Union, 2 years before GDPR came into effect, and we've still decided to normalise it into our own laws. I believe that it's in the European Union withdrawal bill of all the things that it's actually going to be enshrined in. If you want to trade with the EU, you have to abide by EU laws. That's just the way it is, whether you are trading fruit, whether you are trading body products, or whether you are trading data. And so realistically, nothing much is going to change, I don't think.
I think where things might get tricky in future is entirely dependent on how GDPR itself evolves and what that means for our own data protection laws. Since there needs to be harmonisation between the two for this trade to happen, it might mean that time and resources are then spent on the part of organisations here adjusting to changes in Europe. And I suppose we don't quite know how that will pan out until we see what happens in the next few years.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess alongside that, there's the idea that UK businesses will still need to respond to the activities of the European Union, even though they're not currently inside the European Union. And that's it for our panel today. I hope you found it interesting. You can read more about GDPR and its effect on the UK and Brexit on itpro.co.uk.